everyone involved in the Oak Island universe is that type of person. You guys, I can tell you're that type of person. You hear a story like this, you latch onto it like a dog, and you're just like, let's go. And yes, it's frustrating. And yes, you want it to be solved tomorrow. And yes, who doesn't want to find a chest of gold? Of course we do. Of course, everyone does. But it doesn't work like that sometimes. These things are hard. And so it's taking what it's taking. And that is, in this case, 10 years.
Right. How does it affect us in changing of the history or getting down to the nitty gritty of the history?
It won't change history. It will explain.
There you go. Perfect. Thank you. That's what I was
it will explain parts of North American history you've never thought about.
See, I can't. The History Channel could not have come up with a better teaser than we just did right here. So I tell you what, stay tuned, folks, because this is going to be a good one. I can't wait.
This is Robert Clotworthy, the narrator of The Curse of Oak Island. And I have a question for you. Could it be that you are listening to The Curse of Oak Island and Beyond live stream?
This is a top pocket find, mate, for sure.
Hey everybody, Jeff here with The Curse of Oak Island and Beyond live stream and J-Free 906, and we have Colin Jamieson sitting in the co-host chair tonight. Colin, thank you.
Jeff,
how you doing tonight?
Fantastic.
Cool.
Fantastic. I'm shocked already. I can't believe where everyone's from. Peeling on there already. South Carolina to Connecticut. Even some fellow Canadians on there.
Oh yeah, Ontario. I see Ontario going by. Let's see, who is that? That's that's Henry. I should have known it's Henry. And Diane from Connecticut. Karen, hi Karen, how you doing? Kat's here with us. Jan is out there working in the Facebook side, and Linda is helping us with the chat and everything, and YouTube and all that kind of stuff. We really appreciate them very, very much for all that. We gave Tom the night off tonight. He's busy doing some other stuff this evening, so we gave him the night off, and with pay, of course. Anyway,
I was just going to say, is you get a day off with pay? I'm impressed.
Yeah, we try to be good about that, and all. Oh my goodness gracious. Yeah. So really, gosh, we got a lot of people showing up here. Thanks guys for coming by. Paul is here. Jeff is in the house. Hey Jeff, how you doing? Craig Robbins. And as Colin often says, let us know where you're from. Put your name or that in there. That's really cool. Tony from Alberta is here. Hi Tony. I don't know that I've seen you here before, but welcome. Thank you for coming. Appreciate it. Let's see who. Jess Grollo. Jess is here. Thank you, Jess. Oh man, Jess was again. What's that?
I said Anne-Marie in Germany. What time is it in Germany right now?
Oh, she's up late. She stays up really. Yeah, Anne-Marie, what time is it there? Right? Like 2 o'clock.
It's past my bedtime here.
Yeah. Bass Anderson. Oh my gosh. Yeah, a lot of good people. Robert Dean is here. Oh man, Kat. How you doing? Gosh, thanks folks for coming by. Mark is here. Hey, Mark. Mark Don. -9 Celsius outside right now for Kat. Eva's here. Hey, Eva. Eva and I were talking today because she and we both got our registrations and everything done for Phenomicon 2023 in Vernal, Utah. Oh my gosh, yeah, I'm so excited about going back to Vernal this summer. I'm going to spend quite a bit of time actually out there. I'd like to anyway. Hopefully everything works out that I can, so that I can go out to Vernal again. Well, I'm definitely going to be in Vernal because now I'm all registered to go to Phenomicon. And if any of you folks don't know what that is, it's our Skinwalker Ranch kind of part of what we do here. The guys from Skinwalker Ranch are at this Phenomicon. It's a phenomenon convention they hold there. It's this will be the 3rd year. I didn't go to the first one. I went to the second one last year. It was great. I had such a wonderful time. Met Eva in the parking lot. As a matter of fact, I met her there and I told her we got to meet in the parking lot on Wednesday. So again, this year, but I tell you, for those of you who like Skinwalker Ranch, Expedition Bigfoot, UFO, UAP, cryptoid stuff, and paranormal stuff, man, you want to check if you can. It's a great event. It's the weekend after Labor Day weekend in September, like the 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th, or somewhere around there. It's the weekend after Labor Day. Great event. And I'm all signed up, got all my stuff picked out to having lunch with Russell Accord from Expedition Bigfoot. Yeah, so really cool stuff. Really looking forward to that. Let's see. Nathan Bishop. Hey, Nathan, how you doing? Kate's here. Mark wrote. Pat Elliott. Hey, Pat. Pat made it. All right. Renee's here. Hi, Renee. Let's see. Diane is here. I'm looking over at the Facebook side. Sylvie. Hi, Sylvie. Hi, Jeff from Nova Scotia. Hey, how you doing? All right.
Got Dale's out there.
What's that?
Dale Kearney's out there lurking around.
Yep. Michelle Gibson. Hi, Michelle. Yeah, Dale Kearney. Anthony's here. The Borchers from Texas. Hey, hello. How you doing? So we really got, Keith Wood. Gosh, a lot of folks here. Gosh, thanks for coming by, folks. I really appreciate it. We are going to be talking up about Curse of Oak Island tonight, of course. Curse of Oak Island, season 10, episode number 11. Oh, well, they called it. And we know why. If you watched it last night, we know why. They call it that. Oh, West Georgia. That's Rudine. Is that how you pronounce your name? Rudine Green? Greetings from West Georgia. All right. Well, you're not far from where I am. I am actually in Florida right now, enjoying the warm weather for a change. It finally was kind of hot today, but I'm not going to complain because it could be snowing, and I don't want that. I don't want to be there. So, but Wade, hey, Wade, how you doing? So a lot of folks here. Appreciate you guys all showing up tonight. Yeah. So I wanted to say real quick, too, if you want to help support the show, we have our Patreon page. It's patreon.com, and it's Patreon, patreon.com. And of course, you can look for JFree906 out there if you want to help support the show. And for those of you who are patrons, I so appreciate you very, very much. It really does help so much to pay for all of this and keep the show going. So I really appreciate you all so very much. It's really cool. April from Ohio. And Rita from ice-covered Hill County, Texas. Yeah, I heard about that. Is that Jack? Jack Campbell from Holland. Hey, Jack, how you doing? I hope you're feeling better and still on the mend, sir. Let us know how you're feeling, if you would, Jack, and I'll let everybody know. Jack, as you guys, if some of you haven't met Jack, Jack Campbell was my original co-host. Jack had a little bit of a medical issue and had to step away for a while. We're hoping that Jack can come back. If you look back at a year ago at some of my YouTube videos that I got out there, you will see Jack in those. And so we're hoping that Jack gets on the mend and gets back up here as soon as he can. We miss Jack a lot. So we like to acknowledge when he's out there watching. So good to see you.
My brother from another mother, one of my tall buddies.
Yeah, one of your tall buddies. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, 6'7" or something. When I went to meet Jack up there that one time, and he, we were talking and stuff, and when he got up out of his chair, I was like, wow, this guy. He's like 6'8", you're like 6, I don't know, something like that. Oh my goodness. And I'm just 6 foot, so. Anyway, yes, we do miss Jack, Kevin. That's for sure. All right. So we're going to get started with this. Another pretty good episode. Maybe didn't have some of the, the astonishing things that we've seen happening underground in the money pit, like we've, seen lately. They did a lot of work in Lot 5, continuing on there. Some work going on, but the show didn't really focus on the money pit this particular episode. It was really focusing on Lot 26. And then the guy's going over to Liverpool, which, I didn't even know there was a Liverpool, Nova Scotia. That's not that far from you guys, is it, where you're at?
It'll be about hour and a half drive from here, I'd say from Chester, Mahone Bay area. I'll tell you, there's beaches down in like where those guys were. There's a place called Port Mattoon and a place called Carter's Beach. It looks like the tropics. It's got turquoise blue waters. One of the most beautiful places you'll ever go is Carter's Beach in Nova Scotia.
Oh, okay. Wow. Yeah.
Oh,
The real
Paddy
Paddy.
Jameson. Nice. Close.
From Ireland.
I'm a Jamieson. I'm an English Jameson rather than an Irish Jameson.
Ah. I was always wondering, spelling your name has got that I in there, Ieson. Our friend Jer Henderson lives in Liverpool. Hey, all right. Yeah, I didn't know that. So very close. So that's where the guys went down there. And so we'll get to that part here in the show here in just a few minutes. Let's go ahead and bring up the pictures, as you know I love to do. There we go. All right. So starting off with this one, oh, well, they called this particular one. The guys started off immediately when the show got going. They were starting off over here in the Money Pit area. And they're working on, if you remember last week, they were talking about the BLOB, and this was where Dr. Ian Spooner had found, they were trying to nail down exactly where the gold was coming from in the water. And so they decided to go over here and punch down this particular borehole, CN11, which is just 27 feet away from the garden shaft. And you see how close they are in that picture right there. And if you remember this one here, they were talking about this. They were talking about this line right here, this division, and these boreholes that are right here that are on the east side. I'm going to say east. It's probably southeast, but the east side of this line were boreholes that did not have gold and silver content in the water, but the ones over here, all these did. And so that was where they were tracing down exactly where it was coming from. And the funny thing about this too is that, and this is something I was talking with Tom, you, and Colin last week, was the fact that, some people believe that there may have been treasure there at one time and it's been taken. It's gone by now, right? Well, talking to Ian, when I had Ian on the show, and I asked him that pointedly. I said, well, what do you think about that? And he said, if we're getting the content that we are of the gold and silver in the water, that means the treasure something has to still be there to be able to keep putting that content, keep that content. Otherwise it would, I guess, dissipate over time. I don't know if it does that. I'm not a geoscientist like that, so I'm not really sure how that works, but I guess it would fade over time. I don't know. What do you think?
I'm interested. Can they tell the difference between it being a naturally occurring in the ground, or if it's, is there different types of gold? Actually, there's not different types of gold, but I don't know if they can tell that or not.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if they could, and you're right, because, by what he said, by the content amount that's in the water, he was thinking, there's quite a bit here and it has to still be there. So I don't know if it's something that would fade over time. Yes, I think so, Renee. Going back, I'm going to go back just for a second. And these things right here are the muon technology. These are the sensors, and they're being protected by these concrete curbs they put around it in the concrete tubes. There's 5 of them in kind of on dice. You see the 5, the 4 in the corner, 1 in the center. And those are in the Money Pit area, and theirs are growing. That's another thing about that doggone technology that, I thought we would have the results, because they put those in way last year. I mean, before the end of the season, wasn't it?
I was convinced that the Muhan, that like this season was going to be completely based around it, and they haven't even said like nothing about it. Like it's been radio silent.
Exactly. I thought so too. I thought that their drill program was going to be based upon what they gathered from it, the data, and they don't even have the data yet. So that just, but remember at the end of the season last year, at the end of season 9, they teased a picture, and that picture was of what we assumed was muon technology, and showing underground cavity and content of some sort of substance, maybe gold or silver or something like that underground. And all of us, me included, I was thinking, oh, there it is, they got this. So they have it by now, of course, I would think anyway. But they said, early on, just a few weeks ago, we heard still going to be several weeks before they get that data back. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Season 9, episode 25. That's what Douglas says. So there you go. I mean, that was right at the end of the season, season
Yeah.
9. And they showed that picture, and I thought, oh, they've got the data. So they must have something. Either that or it was a picture of some other scanning, some other data not related to Oak Island that they had got, and they used that picture just to tease everyone or something. I don't know. Not that Prometheus would ever do such a thing. They'd never
No.
tease us for anything, right?
But I guarantee you they're very, very tight-lipped locally on it. Like nobody, you can't get a squeak out of anybody on what it is and what's going on.
What does that tell you? You know?
Wow. They were very, very excited. I heard a lot of positivity at the end of the season. Like there was some, because they went really long into the year. Because normally they're finishing up the end of October. But I mean, I say last year for this season that we're watching now, I mean, they were out there horsing around well in November, even December.
Yeah.
So it was like,
So
something,
why?
why it was something found late in the season? Because I mean, the shows that we're watching now are like, from what I can tell, is like we're getting into September now. Like we're September-ish in within it. Because I remember that trespassing sign from 2 episodes. I took a picture of that on August the 27th. So they're past that point, and they're kind of in the early September, and there's a lot of activity going on in October. A lot.
Yeah. And hopefully we'll get to find out. I know a few people are. I agree, Renee. I hope that that the drilling that they've done hasn't messed up that data. They said it wouldn't. You had to stay away from like a certain, like a 10-foot radius around them, and they did step inside of that. And he said that was like a safe zone. They were still within the safe zone, but I just really hope that the muon data just becomes redundant info. Cats Kevin, it could, with where they're at now. I mean, honestly, I don't know what they paid to have this data done, the muon technology, but now that they put the cameras down in those boreholes, and we've seen tunnels, we've seen the wood in the tunnels and the water down there, and the sonar data. I mean, we know, and that's just justification for me, as far as I'm concerned, that they are, we kept seeing them pull up wood after wood after wood, and now we see the reason by that. There's framing down there for these tunnels, and that's just so cool. I think personally that we've actually seen it, so I'm really happy about that.
I guess
American Fork, who is that? Somebody from, that's Jeffrey White from American Fork, Utah. All right, I don't know where is that in relation to Vernal, Jeffrey? Yeah, because I'll be out in the Vernal area for sure when I get out there for Phenomicon. So there's that blob right there that they were showing. And we've seen a couple of different renditions of that picture as we go along, as there's one right there. And this is CN11 that they're drilling right here. And that's where you see it located right there next to the garden shaft. That's the one they're drilling, supposedly kind of in the middle of this thing. And we talked about this last week. What about these other ones that they drilled that were inside that blob? And I don't remember them pulling up anything and saying, we've hit some kind of a structure. They did find wood in some of those, that's for sure. But what does that tell us? I'm not really sure. They haven't given us the detail on that yet. As they were drilling, they got down to in the CN11. The area, the blob, is about 70 by 25 feet, and it's just west of the garden shaft and located at a depth of approximately 80 to 120 feet. As the group gets out there and they're doing this, they're examining this core sample here, which is from 109 to 119. I'm sorry, 108 to 119. And Terry finds this right here, which he says is very unusual. And it was you've got that clay material, which you can kind of see right here. I don't have a good picture of it, but it's that solid, mass of like clay. And then you've got this area of like sand in between. And that's where he said that's a very good sign. But they did do a water sample, but they didn't go any further. They stopped at 119 feet. That was like their target depth. And they stopped right there. Terry believes the need to move to another site rather than going deeper it wants to get a water sample of that hole. And this time, because of the fact that they were disturbing all this, when they got that water sample, it wasn't clear like last week. Remember the clear water that they were getting last week when they did the samples? So, but anyway, he decided to move over. So I don't know. What does that tell us about this hole? I don't know.
It's funny that they wouldn't drill to bedrock, because I mean they found material 160. Like, again, if you stopped at 110, maybe the treasure box is at 120 and they stopped. It seems odd that if you're going to run the drill, how much more effort is it to put in another 30, 40 feet or whatever?
Oh, absolutely. I'd go until I hit bedrock. But that's me. I would definitely go until I hit bedrock.
Honor money, I guess, right?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, for sure. You got to think about the dollars that are being spent. Vernal is about 2.5 hours east of me. Oh, okay. I am friends with some of the Skinwalker Ranch gents too. Oh, cool. All right. Yeah, I've become acquainted with several of them as well because of several reasons. A couple of them been on the show, but really good guys. I like that show a lot. I really do. All right. So they got the sand there. He found that really compacted sand. And of course, that was where he stopped and decided that they were going to take a look at, another hole. They were going to punch another hole down. So that was pretty much it for the money pit on this particular episode. Just the one drill, a borehole, and then they moved on. And that takes us right over to lot 5, where they are working. And I'm sorry, folks, I'm going to say this, but I think that's a latrine, quite honestly. I could be wrong. And you know what? It's a good place to dig because, a lot of people have said, well, these old latrines are places where they throw their trash in there, broken pottery and pipe stem or whatever. I mean, we'll get to that in just a minute, the real Patty. I tell you, that's but I think that's what this is. I mean, I think this is an old latrine. Now, it's really good that it was 600 years ago or so because, but the samples, and this is something we were talking about in Discord again last night. And again, I bring up Discord. The link for my Discord channel is down below in the description of the show. If you want to join us in Discord, we were having another good time in there last night. There was, I don't know, another 8 or 10 of us in there talking last night. We start about 8 o'clock or so, somewhere in there. We're talking, going back and forth in the voice channel. And, Kat and Nova Scotia Kat and some of the folks that were in there with us, Morningstar and stuff, we were talking about this, and Robert, and we were talking about the fact that, and I think Kat brought up the suggestion that the soil, they could test the soil. And if it has a content of, I forget what it was. I think she's out here. Maybe if you could tell me again what that was, something in the soil, phosphorus or something that might tell them that it was in fact a latrine. But you take that idea, a latrine, and then you take the idea, the things that they found in there, the pottery. Miriam said during this portion that they found coal, a lot of coal in there. Was it coal or charcoal? I forget. I got to look again at my notes. Charcoal. I'm sorry. Found lots of charcoal. Not coal, but charcoal. Would they not use charcoal in a latrine to maybe help with the smell? I don't know. Why?
It's a good question.
Yeah, I don't know. Somebody had mentioned that, I think last night as well. It mentioned something about using the charcoal, and there might help with the smell.
I'm Googling it.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Who said that about Helen? That was Michelle. Yeah, Helen Sheldon is amazing. The woman knows a lot of stuff. Yeah, her stuff, she does. I mean, you hear her coming out with stuff, and you don't. I'm really glad that we're getting to see that. Before, she was always sitting in one of the, the research center or somewhere like that, working on stuff that everybody was bringing to her. But now she's out in the field, she's working, and we get to see and hear more of her expertise. Great point, Michelle. I think that's great. I really like to see that. I like to get to know these folks, Miriam and Helen and them, when they come out there, because we get to get a little bit of an understanding of who they are and what they know. And then you're right. She's definitely has a lot of knowledge on this kind of stuff. So, but that's what I was thinking. It might be a latrine of some sort. I don't know.
You know what? And I was just
that?
reading here about them putting charcoal in a latrine. Just activated charcoal, just like lemon. Activated charcoal is a great odor absorber and is more porous than ordinary. Anyway. You might
That's
be
great.
onto something. You may be onto
Okay.
something.
Well, again, that goes back to the Discord channel. Somebody in there, and I don't remember who it was, but somebody had brought that up and said, "Do you think they could have used that charcoal to bring, help with the smell?" And I thought, I don't know, maybe. I mean, it does make sense, right? So there you go. Because I was thinking, why would there be charcoal in this hole? Unless it was some sort of we went back to the pine tar kiln.
Yeah,
Maybe that wasn't a pine tar kiln. Maybe that was a latrine too at some point.
could be. Had to go somewhere.
Somewhere. Yeah, so there you go. Let's see. Jan said, yeah, privy pits have a lot of cool artifacts thrown in them. Yes, they do. And that's where you're going to see broken bits of pottery and things like that. It's they throw them in because they know it's going to get covered up at some point and hide the fact that anybody was even there until folks come along 600 years later and dig it up and go, hey, look at all the stuff we're finding in here, right? But the way the rocks were all stacked, now obviously they're going to keep moving and they're going to go out in different directions from this spot and see where it leads until they end up running out of artifacts, and then they'll stop. But we'll get to see this as it goes along a little bit further. And
Yeah,
again,
the guys didn't have.
Go ahead.
They didn't have porcelain toilets back then, so you would make it. No, seriously, you would make a permanent, kind of semi-permanent structure if you're there for a period of time, which hence a rock hole. Put a nice sitting log across it, and you and your campmates are good to go.
Right. And you're not going to, unless you are planning on being there for a good period of time, that would give you reason by which to think that they would need to do this. If you're only going to be there for a couple of days, I don't think anybody's going to bother with digging a latrine. But if you're going to be there for an extended period of time, that's when you're going to want to do that, correct? I mean, that makes sense, right?
And I mean, clearly over time, whether it's the British or the depositors or whatever, to go and dig a hole 100 feet in the ground, you weren't there for a couple of days. I mean, people have been there working for months. Right. It's remote. You didn't have the honey hut portable toilet to put on there on the job site. So you were pretty much bringing all your gear, bring your tools, bring your equipment, barrels of food and everything else you had to do. Because again, I don't think this was an operation of, one or two people. This would have been a lot of people and equipment to do it, right?
Absolutely. I totally agree with that. That's, and somebody said, let's see here. I just saw this pop up. It was talking about the lining of the rocks. Why would the latrine be lined with the rocks? The only thing I could think about for that would be to actually build like a foundation around it, to build some sort of a shack or a log or something. I think the structural integrity of the latrine, I think, is the only reason why you would line it with rocks. I mean, that kind of makes sense to me anyway. What do you think?
Yeah, because they would have dug a hole, and then, like to your point, they would have dug the hole. If you left it, it's going to rain. You're exposed again. You're not using modern gear and technology, so they would have dug it, lined it so it didn't collapse upon itself.
That's what I would think.
Again, put a nice little pooping log on there, and you're good to go.
Yeah, you're good. Exactly. Why on the bottom, I don't know, but I would definitely go below that. I don't know if they did or not. We'll find out in coming episodes. But a lot of that fancy rock work for a latrine that is used or redug for every few months.
And you would think too, like it's not like today where you go to the campsite and you bag up your garbage and you take it with you and all that stuff. So, I mean, even as people are there, they would have had animals and other things. So as people were eating and doing stuff, you would have to have an area to put stuff, scraps of your food or going to the bathroom and doing that stuff. Because, there are lots of just raccoons and there's bears. There's lots of bears in the area and all kinds of stuff that you don't really want to be attracting to your scraps and stuff. So
exactly.
And they're not going to be, they're going to break dishes and break equipment. They're just not going to leave it just sitting out. You're going to kind of collect and put your junk somewhere, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's a very good point about the bears and stuff. You don't want to leave that kind of, if you throw it in the latrine, they're less likely to get in there, I would think. That's a good point. Yeah. Kevin, I don't know about that. Washing their hands. I don't know. Go ahead down to the ocean and wash your hands in the ocean or whatever. Well, they did have fresh water there, obviously, with the well that we're going to talk about. But yeah, so anyway, just very interesting how this was all lined out. But I honestly believe that's exactly what it was. As they go along here, they did find some loose ones in there, loose rocks that were just kind of thrown in at the end, but they that were in the area there. But a new hole means smoking in the boys.
Yeah, that's funny.
Robert, that's pretty funny. Smoking in the boys' room. Okay, so so they get a hold of Rick to come on out because Miriam really has something that she wants to show Rick. So Rick comes out with Gary there, and so they get looking, and she wants to show him what she found. So they kind of gather everybody together, and of course Jack's out there. He was doing the sifting for him on this particular day, anyway. One thing I noticed before I get too much further on here, I still see some purple flags out there. So, and I was mentioning, when they were doing this and they were metal detecting and they came across this hole in the first place and they found that metal in there, they got a lot more flags that they need to be going at. And why is Gary not busy doing? Well, let the archaeologists come over here and dig that hole. And Gary, you get busy and get the rest of them flags found and get them dug up. But you can see flags over here in the background out here. It's like, Gary, we need those finds. So get digging, get that metal detector swinging. Don't leave them things too long. But yeah, there they are. It's not, he's busy doing something else. I don't know. Anyway, but they showed him the pipe stem that they found. And again, now something that Miriam had said about this pipe stem is that she said it was in the sidewall. She said it was in between the rocks when she was looking at the rocks that are on the sidewall of this hole. She was digging around in there and she found it there. So it wasn't in the bottom. It was in one of the sidewalls. And she came up with the idea that maybe it was actually thrown in there when it was constructed. Yeah. Does that matter? Maybe a little, because it would give you a date. If they can date this thing, it would give you a rough idea of when the latrine was built or when the hole was constructed, whatever this is, when it was constructed. Interesting thing about that pipe stem, and I went and did a little bit of looking today, trying to figure out, about pipe stems, because Helen had said, anyway, I'm going to read here real quick. Miriam pulls out the pipe stem and says that that it was in the feature. Helen says that they can date the pipe by the size of the borehole, and that clay pipes were used in the late 1500s to the late 1800s. And then Miriam mentions to Rick and wonders why there were no clay pipes found when they were excavating the stone road in the corner of the swamp. So, and that they were wondering about that. Why weren't they finding any pipe stems anywhere else? But now they found this one. And I did go out, and if you go out and Google, and this is what I did today just for the heck of it, I went out and I Googled how to date an old pipe stem. And sure enough, there it came, a little thing about, looking at the size of the hole, that the borehole that goes through the actual stem of the pipe, you can date it because they change sizes over the years. So you can help to date it, get you an idea, a closer idea anyway, by that. But she thinks it was deposited there during the construction. So hopefully this isn't one of those things that's going to go away and we'll never hear anything more about it. Because I want to know. Everybody wants it. That's what Craig said when Craig came out later. He was talking about the fact that they want to know, try to get some sort of a date of when this thing was constructed and maybe by who. Now, I don't know if they're going to be able to tell by that pipe stem or any other artifact that they found in there, if they could get that. But anyway, I was reading what Linda had posted up there about the very the size of it. I'm talking about a different one, I guess, or something. But yeah, you guys, it's funny how, I miss so much of the chat that goes by here during the show. And there's so many great comments. Everybody's having like their own conversations out here, which is cool. I really like that. But I like to kind of keep track of what's going on there too, because everybody has some really good information And what was kind of neat, I never knew until Tony Sampson mentioned this the other day, talking about these pipes were just like use once and throw it away type pipes.
Mm.
I didn't know that. They came packed with tobacco already. I had no idea. So it was like
Get
a
a,
one-time use, toss it when you're done, like a
pack of
cigarette.
pipes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pack of
I
pipes.
had no idea. I thought, oh, these guys keep them for a long time. But yeah, no, they threw them away when they were done. And there was that thing about throwing them, you break them when you throw them over the side of the ship for good luck or whatever. You break it and throw it over. And if one was, Tom was mentioning this, Tom Burns was mentioning this last week, that if they found one on the bottom of the ocean that was complete, that would be more likely to be a shipwreck because it was never used. Or it was
Yeah.
never broken and thrown over the side like they would normally do. So that was kind of neat information. Let's see here. So yeah, so anyway, hopefully we'll get more information about that, the dating of that that pit as they go along here. Next, the guys jump over to the war room. And this brings up kind of an interesting bit here because they're talking in the war room about Ian Spooner comes in here and they're talking about this well that they have found over on lot 26. Now, Rick had mentioned during this clip in here, during this segment, that over in lot 26, he had seen this with Dan Blankenship. They had seen this well, and Rick had commented about the fact that it wasn't frozen over. Now, some people had commented about the fact that, wells don't freeze over. Yes, they do. They may not freeze solid, depending upon how deep they are, but they will get a layer of ice on them, especially when it's out like this and it's exposed to the elements. Living up in the UP of Michigan, I've seen wells where you had to actually break the top of the layer of ice. It might have been thin, but you break it to get down and get some water out of it. And they're done that. So they do freeze over, but maybe not all that thick. And that was something they always kept like a something there by it so you could smack the ice and break it, and then thereby you can get the water out. So they do freeze over, but they may not be that deep. Now this one, they asked Ian Spooner to go out and take a look and use the same kind of method that he was using in the money pit, testing the water, and go over and do that over there. So they did the testing of the water. And this was where the well is located, right here by this little pond. And it's located right there in lot 26. There's a picture of that pond, and the well is right here in the background of it. It's right there. So they did go over and they did some testing on it. And sure enough, Ian comes back with he didn't say how much, but he said it was a larger, more content of silver than you would normally find.
Silver,
yeah. No gold, but just silver. But they did find content of silver in this well, and he said it was above normal levels, is I think the way he put it, above normal levels. Now, what's significant about lot 26? Lot 26 happens to be the lot that, and there's a picture of the well close up. You can see it's rock lined. So initially they were thinking, they would have missed it, thinking it was just simply a hole with water in it. But being rock lined like this, that's where you start to look at, the idea that it was man-made. Somebody created this well because there's rocks around it. Otherwise, it could just be a hole. James Anderson owned this lot. James Anderson in 1784, the lot was purchased in 1784 by Captain James Anderson. Anderson was an American Freemason and some believed smuggled treasure to Oak Island during the American Revolution. The lot was then sold in 1788. Just 4 years later, was sold to. There's the lot, graph showing that he owned it right there, lot 26. It was sold later to Samuel Ball, and that was So Samuel Ball bought this lot from James Anderson. And then we know that Samuel Ball became one of the wealthiest men in Nova Scotia.
Maybe he had a couple of bags of silver hidden as well.
That's exactly what I was going with right there. if if it had a higher than normal content of silver in the water, but yet not super significant level, then is it possible that he hid some of his silver down in that well and he took it out? And that for would leave back behind a remnant of the silver content in the well? All right, good point. I'm glad you brought that up because that's exactly where I was heading with that. And did Samuel Ball end up finding any of it? We don't know yet. I don't know. There's Ian going, I don't know. But anyway, and we know that this is in the same area where the wharfs were built.
Yeah.
Right off of the southern coast of Oak Island. Yeah. They had these two wharfs, and there's the LiDAR. You can actually see, well, I don't know if this is LiDAR, but you can see where one came out here, another one came out here. One of them went way out into the water, a long way. The other one wasn't quite as long. This is when Tony Sampson was over there diving on these spots, and he found the remnant that there was, in fact, wharfs that extended quite a ways out into the water. Now, who built these wharves, we really don't know. Did Anderson build them, or was it Samuel Ball? We don't know for sure on that, and we may never know the answer to that question. But you think about why would Samuel Ball need these? And again, it's complete speculation. But if he was a cabbage farmer, and the ships and the French or the English needed to have cabbage for like sauerkraut for the guys to keep them from getting scurvy at sea, then this would be a good he would, if he was selling the cabbage to the ship captains, then they could come up and use the wharf, and they could take it and transport it out to the ships by the means of the wharf that was built there. Where would he get some of the things that were found on the property? Not necessarily on lot 26, but on Samuel Ball's property there was a button from a very nice button that was considered like from a ranking officer's button from his coat. They found some other. Where did he get the silver and gold coins that he was using to buy things on the mainland? He could have got them from a ship captain buying the cabbages, right? I mean, makes sense. I don't know. But he was very wealthy. Did he get all that wealth from that? I don't know.
And that pond would be like super brackish. I mean, that would be a combination of salt water, because it's like there's the beach and there's this. So, I mean, you just get a high tide with some wind, it's going to get a lot of salt water. And it's a really weird place for a well.
I know it is.
Because you would think that would be like super contaminated, unless there's a freshwater spring in there, and hence why it didn't freeze, because it's, it's naturally pushing fresh water from the ground up. But it's a really odd spot for a well. Now, a hole to dig and hide something or put it in could be, but that would be super brackish water.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Now, keep in mind too that the water levels were lower back then. You take 400 or 500 years ago, and I think what did a foot per century? I think was what Rick had said one time. You take about a foot down per century. And already the tides there are crazy. I've not been there, so I haven't seen that. But yeah, exactly, Ray. That's exactly the point I was just making, that the water was much lower then. So maybe it wasn't really a pond, just a low spot. We don't know. We don't know for sure. But you go back that much in time. How deep is that pond? I don't know.
Because I know, like, I live like right on the ocean, and we were doing some building here added to the house, and we were digging to put a additional foundation in, and it's probably, I'd say 30 feet from the our sea, like a seawall from the ocean,
right?
And 6-7 feet down, you're getting this, the ground turns really like almost like a blackish from the salt water intrusion, even that far inland underground. It's quite amazing how far the salt water will leach itself in.
Yep. Yeah. That's something that, you being right there, you would obviously be able to determine that like you did. And I would have somebody like me, I'd have no idea about that. But that's really interesting. And that's why, the swamp ends up being brackish. We know it's fed by a spring. The swamp.
by the eye of the
And,
swamp.
and collect lots of rainwater and stuff, but you get a lot of intrusion from salt water goes in there for sure.
Absolutely, especially storms and waves and stuff washing over the beach and stuff. Yep. Yeah, open air well collects water from above. It sure does. That was Doug. Thanks, Doug. Yep, absolutely. There are other wells on the island too. This isn't the only one, but pretty interesting. So, but that's where it's located, and you see on Samuel Ball's property where those awards for breakwater was. That's the guys checking it out, obviously, in the war room there. And there kind of shows up. They were showing this, and I just grabbed this picture real quick because that right there is the little pond, is what you're looking at here in the foreground, and then the well is right on the other side of it there, going up into the higher land, which is the property. But again, thinking about maybe 4 feet down, the water level would have been about 4 feet lower back then. So, would that have been a pond back then? Maybe not.
It's true, because I mean, even you think Anderson, it's not like if he would have had some valuables. I mean, because it's not like you're going to go to the bank and say, I got to go put it in and bring my ATM card. I mean, these guys were carrying around whatever possessions they had. So even if I were to leave your house or go places, what would you do?
Exactly.
You would hide your stuff and come up with some pretty ingenious places to hide it, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah. You had to. You absolutely had to, because somebody, especially in an island, I mean, you jump in your boat and you head back to the mainland to go, do some commerce or whatever, get some lumber or whatever you're doing. And while you're gone, somebody sees your boat coming into land. They know that your property's not being protected right now. Head right over there. So yeah, you had to hide stuff. You had to hide it. Where's a good place? Maybe in the well. So
bag of silver in the well.
Yeah, exactly. That's a great point. And it makes it's a very plausible situation. Very plausible. So then Ian goes out there with Laird. They kind of gather up and they head out there the next day to go have a look. And he's going to get this sample with his plunger. So they head out there to the well. And again, that's where it's located, right there on lot 26. And Ian pretty much getting all down in that water. And I wanted to grab this picture here because he's showing it didn't go down. It's not that deep of a well, quite honestly. I mean, it's only about 4 feet down, I think. Roughly. I was trying to judge it watching them put that pole down in there, the plunger, which is down where Ian's hand is, like on the top of it. And then they shoved it down into the muck that's down on the bottom. And then pull that rope up, which is pulling the plunger up, and then thereby, you're able to get it down into that stuff. And then, what they're doing is he wants to get through all that muck and actually get to the bottom of the well, so that then you could find something, hopefully something down there that you can then date. So they shoved that down in there to get that. And you see here, he's pulling the plunger back up, and now you see all this sediment in there in that tube. And the very bottom of it is actual hard. Well, I say hard. It's actual ground. It's the ground. It's not all the loose material and the vegetation that's rotted over time that's sitting on the bottom down there. We actually got into the hard packed dirt that's on the bottom of that well. And that's where you're going to get that sample from.
But the shallowness makes sense where you're that close to the ocean. Again, where I am, my well is a dug well. It's only about 6 feet deep.
Oh, wow.
Because fresh water will run off the land and has a tendency, everything kind of flows to the ocean, right?
Yeah.
So you'll find that the fresh water, if you dig a shallow hole close to the ocean, it will actually draw and collect quite a bit of fresh water in it. So it being that shallow is not out of the norm. That's a pretty common thing.
I was wondering about that. I'm glad you brought that up, because I was wondering about that very thing. Why would it be so shallow? But yeah, that makes total sense. Yeah, because water is going to run toward the ocean. We all know that. I mean, rivers run into the ocean. So very good point. Interesting. So anyway, so he got that sample, and then later on, let's see. Samuel Ball, okay, he bought it in 88. Let's see. Rick. Yeah, so they get that core sample, and then they're going to get that tested. Now, this portion of the show, we get to see our friend Corjan Mol back on there again. And now, rather than being over in Portugal or something like that, showing the guys around overseas, he's actually there in Nova Scotia, and he takes the guys over to Liverpool. So there's Corjan. Whoops, let me bring that back up so you guys can see what I'm talking about. There's Corjan in the car or truck or SUV heading over. And they're heading down to Liverpool, which I guess you said it's about how far down?
It's about an hour and a half drive.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Not too bad. And they're heading over to visit, and it's Doug and Corjan and Rick, of course, heading over there. And they're over there to meet Isaac. There's a picture of Isaac and Nick. And these guys are the ones that I guess they own that property. That's right there down in Liverpool. So they meet up with these guys. I'm sorry.
I was just going to correct myself. Sorry. It's actually less than an hour. It's about 50 minutes to Liverpool itself. Yeah. Sorry.
Okay. No problem. Yeah, I figured ask a local, right?
Yeah.
But it's funny because the rocks all along. I mean, I would almost have to guess that there's, man, if you could take the time. I mean, we've got the Overton Stone, which of course they talked about on here on this episode. And I saw in a post, we were talking about this in our Facebook group, and Terry DeVoe was actually the one that tipped them off to this. And then Terry, we found out about that. Terry actually tipped them off from these guys, because Terry goes and he finds all these kinds of carvings all over the place, i.e. the Overton Stone. But you look at these rocks. I grabbed this picture right here because I love this for the fact that, I mean, look at this. It's almost like a wharf itself sticking out into the water. It's deep on this side or deeper on this side, and it's shallow rocks and whatnot on this side. I would imagine at this point the tide is out.
That's a low tide. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a low tide right now, I would say. Yeah, because it looks like water would come all the way up to here in the high tide.
Yeah.
But they're able to walk out onto this escarpment or whatever this is right here, jetting out, and all, pretty solid rock along the way. And so they head out there, and you're looking at it as they walk out across it, and they find this right here. And the guys are showing them this particular formation, or carving in the rock, a triangle with a center leg. Initially, they were thinking that it was the triangle shape carved into stone that they thought was the British broadhead, which was a way that they kind of marked a lot of different things. Initially, when I saw it, I was thinking, I don't know about that, because they're missing. And again, this is not, because I am not somebody who knows about these types of symbology at all, but I always remembered that carving like that, having the one that was a broadhead, having this line across the top. And it was like Rick had pointed out, it was pointed. It came to a point. It didn't come, to that and have that point sticking up. It came to a sharp point with that line across the top. I don't know if I have another picture of it. No, I don't. But you guys have seen it. If you go look for that British broadhead, you'll see that same thing, but it always has a line across the top of it. And that is missing from this picture. As early as the 14th century, the broadhead was used to signify ownership of an object by a British government or British nobility. Rick and Corjan point out the differences in this carving from the broadhead symbol, and Corjan says that they never were put on a rock like this as a symbol for something. They were always carved on something that they own, a cornerstone or something like that of a building, or a fence post or something that would signify their, that nobility or government. Corjan explains it would look to him like a goose paw. And I didn't catch it. I had to listen to it several times. Goose paw. If you try to research this, and we have to go with Corjan on this because I have no idea. I mean, I tried to look into it and I couldn't find anything on it. Apparently they have, but one thing that Corjan said was he said it looks like what is called a goose paw in Europe, and is a mark of the Masons of the Knights Templar in medieval Europe. you know, and then they showed an example on the program. They showed an example of this right here. And you see like one of the, Templar crosses over here. And then you see that this is an example of it right here. And here's a close up of it. So you see how they come up to connect together and then they extend out. And if you look at this, it does look like they come together and then extend out on the tip here. So they're not making that sharp point at the top. They're actually meeting and then it extends out. So I don't know. As Rick said, needs further investigation, further research. So that's exactly what they're going to have to do with that and find out. So if any of you guys, I don't know, is anybody out there, has anybody done any, since last night when we saw it, has anybody looked into this and have anything to add? I was just trying to look back through the chat. I know Linda's been popping up some things here, but stone triangle on Oak Island is very similar. Wonder if the triangle is marking and pointing points north like the old Oak Island triangle did. Yeah, maybe. That is Mason. I could not find anything on Google. I know. I was the same way, Kevin. I couldn't either. I did. I actually went out and tried to search for it today, and I couldn't find anything. Geese don't have paws. They have webbed feet, right? So I don't know. I thought that was kind of funny, too, to call it something like that. But Mason, like a stonemason who built Templar churches, is what he was referring to. Thank you. Yes. And it was some sort of a Mason mark. So
it's certainly not super unique. It's not, you're seeing it every rock, but I mean, along the coast, and there's quite a few places throughout Nova Scotia that there are, carved stone along the coast. So it's not super, super rare, but what did that specific symbol mean? Yeah. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Yeah, good point. Because they're all up along. I guess there was other carvings all along there, and of course you got the Overton stone that isn't all that far away either. So,
yeah. But Liverpool was certainly a British hangout, though.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Well, the name, I guess, kind of helps. Does
Yeah.
Guess the name does help. Looked up Goosepaw Mason, several images. Okay, all right, I'll give it a try. Goosepaw Mason, all one word, and maybe that's where I was hitting on it. Allegedly Annie. I don't know. I saw that too on this particular picture, that hand right there. I'm not sure what that was all about. I don't even know for sure where this picture came from. They just grabbed it during the show and popped it in there for something, and I don't really know where this came from, but it has that hand, and then it also had that cross. You see the cross right here on the side of it. So, and then there was a circle up here, a circle inside of a circle, and a little cross right there. There's something that looks like a cross here. I don't know. I don't know where this came from, so I'm not really sure.
Those are definitely Templar symbols. That one is.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're trying to relate it. It's British, or they're trying to relate it that it's Templar.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Corjan also explains you often see them on cornerstones of confirmed Templar churches in northern Portugal, Spain, southern France, Italy, and Sardinia. And it could be from medieval cathedral builder. Isaac takes the group over and sees more carvings, and I think these are actually even better. The other carvings that they find, which are they showed Terry DeVoe. Terry's been on the show, great guy. I mean, Tom and Henry got to meet him, and they took him out to, or he took them out to see the Glooscap stone out there by the lighthouse. I hope that I get to meet Terry when I go up there. Yeah, that's what I was going to say right there. Linda just mentioned, she just popped up there about asking several questions of Terry today. And he answered them in our group. He's actually the one that was told about these by those guys, and then he went out there told the Oak Island team about these carvings. But they were out there looking at the Overton stone. This is the Overton stone, which what he feels is a Portuguese cross with the 4 dots around on it. And of course, you've got the one that the stone that was on. This is our friend Alessandra Nadavari and her husband. This was the stone that was on their property. There's Alessandra there and her husband Tim. And if you can faintly see it in this picture, but you can see like the one part of it here and then going over this way and down. But then you can see if when they do the overlay, you can kind of get an idea of look like a Templar cross across the
Very
tag.
cool.
Yeah. Now this stone has been taken off of that property and moved. They put it into storage to preserve it, and also so that nobody would come and steal it. After it appeared on the TV program, this particular episode, they knew that they had to get it removed from there to preserve it, and it's now in safe hands somewhere else. So glad of that. But it was kind of cool to see Alessandra on here. She's a friend of the show. She's been on several times in the past and helped me co-host with guests and stuff. We like her a lot. Matter of fact, that's where I got the shirt from, was from Alessandra. She sent the shirt to me. So I don't know if she's there tonight, but thank you, Alessandra. I really appreciate the shirt. This was the next set of carvings that were found on a rock just a little ways away. And it was kind of cool. Some of these different things that are on here. Initially, the guy was just pointing out the cross on this one here. But as you noticed right away, Corjan has pointed out the fact that it has a circle on the bottom of it.
Yeah.
Now, where have we seen that circle with a cross on top? And that's called a globus cruciger. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. A globus cruciger. And it had to do with a particular... It means a couple of different. It lit up a little bit better as they traced it. This thing would represent the circle with the cross on top can mean God or Jesus. It dates back to the 5th century and represents Christianity's domination over the world. Rick says the team will have to do more research, but yeah, that's a really cool symbol right there. So what does that tell us? Again,
Templars are in Nova Scotia, 100%.
Yeah, I think so. I think they were, but we're still trying to dig out that proof, are we not? So they got a couple other symbols. This one here, a circle with a line through it. And I was reaching out to a couple of guys today. Jake Roberts one, of course, and John Edwards another, and hadn't heard back from John yet. And also Bill Smith to see if they had seen anything like this before, to kind of get their ideas on this, because this is cool stuff. This one I'm not familiar with. And also this one, the one down below, which is like a half moon circle or a half circle with like an eye in it. Templars, baby. Yeah, for sure. It's upside down. It means a woman. Yeah. And we don't know if that rock, it was ever pushed around by hurricane winds or storm surge or anything like that. It may have been laying on its different side at one point. We simply don't know. It's laying like it is now, but and then there's this one he pointed out, and it has like this dot in the center. And then there was this one. I don't know what to make of this. But some of these are kind of worn down, and they could have been more to them at one time. We just don't know. But interesting carvings for sure. And you go back to that first picture, you see them all laid out here. I think this one down here in the bottom, there's more to it that I think is kind of worn away. And that one there. But again, pretty interesting carvings. Now,
it looks like that rock's been toppled over, eh? And you go back to the last, you can see almost like the line where that was kind of half buried in the ground. It looks like it's been toppled
right
over
here
on one side. Yeah,
exactly. You're right. That does look like a line of where it was in the ground in wet water or brackish water over years or whatever, salt water. So yeah, it looked like it may have been sitting up straight, which if it were, then this would have been straight up and down. The circle with the cross would have been straight up and down. If you flop that back over, like you just said.
That's right.
Yeah, very good point. Yeah, that's a good. I didn't notice that, but you're right. This line right here indicates this darker color. Yeah, it would have been in the ground or in, muddy
Yeah.
water right there at the ocean.
Yeah. So it had some ice or a big storm or something move that rock around a bit, but was sitting flat when whoever chiseled that stuff into the rock was going straight across, right?
So if you could read that with like text, I
Hmm.
wonder what that would have said. Interesting. So symbology, right? We got to get the symbology people on this to help us decipher what that says. And then of course, they walk through them here. And this is the Globus cruciger right here. So that's the circle with the cross on top. And here, I grabbed this picture here as they were looking at this stone. You know what, folks, if I was there and had the time, I would look at every one of those rocks that's laying out there. I would go through, I don't care if it took me a month, I'd go through every one of those stones with a fine tooth comb, wet, dry, different weather conditions. Because as they were doing this, I grabbed this picture here because I saw this. That looks like a cross to me. Now, it could be nothing. It could be just nothing that was carved. It could be something that just the rock wearing against another rock. Who knows? But it looks like another cross right here.
Well, I think you had it up there earlier. I mean, you got to remember they've got hours and like hundreds of hours of video and footage, and they see a ton of stuff. They're like, well, what are we going to put in the show?
Right.
Can't show you just simply can't show everything that they're seeing. You're only seeing some very, very small 1% of the highlights that we're
1%
actually
of,
seeing.
yeah, exactly right. About 1% of what, and he's standing over here. That's Isaac. He's standing over here looking, he's looking that way. And I mean, I'm looking at that rock going, there's another one right there. But I'd be combing over all these rocks in that whole doggone area. Matter of fact, all up and down the coast, like you mentioned earlier. I'd be going over all of them. Another thing that I noticed, this was cool. They were showing the relation between Nova Scotia and Portugal, because Corjan said, yeah, he goes, I've seen this in Portugal before. So there is that same symbol right there. So does that take us to Portugal once again? The Portuguese were here, and we know that the Templars went to Portugal. Was it the Rosicrucians? I don't know. I forget now. We need John Edwards in here to talk about that. But yeah, so we know that when they were Friday the 13th, 1307, we know they were already in Portugal, but some of them fled to Portugal, is what the theory says. That many of them fled to Portugal. Some went to Scotland. So Templars in Portugal, and then came over to North America. Plausible. Why wouldn't it be possible, right? So there's another look at those symbols. And then there was another, I guess I didn't grab it. I'll have to look and see what I did. There was another one that I grabbed a picture of. And I thought, well, you can see part of it right here. Right where his hat is or whatever this is. But you see these cuts in the rock. And I had a better picture of it, and I'll see if I can find it. But look at these cuts right here. These notches that are cut in this rock. See that? This rock has definitely been manipulated by mankind. I mean, obviously, with the carvings in it, yes. But I think there was more to it than that at one time. I think this was supposed to be a signpost for people come ashore and then see this and take note. Kilroy was here.
I think you're exactly right. There's lots of this stuff that's marked on there, and it's definitely. I mean, the Templars. It's well documented that they were here and interacted with the Mi'kmaq and everything else. So this is
that one there has a circle.
Yeah,
that has a circle around it with a cross in the center. It circles this section right here. They didn't point that out on there, but you can see it right here. You can see that circle around there. Okay, so we need a symbologist to help us with this stuff. I hope I'm saying that right, but there is more. Catherine says there's more advanced tech now that is used for Petroglyphs and photograph laser scans that can pick up worn elements or remnants of pigments. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So this has got to get looked at, and researched. Absolutely. I mean, there's no doubt about it. They got to do some more research on this. I don't know that I guess I don't have that other picture. I thought I grabbed it, but it was those carvings anyway. It was the cutout on that rock that I had grabbed that I thought was really significant and something to talk about. The last part of the show, the guys went over to the war room and they were meeting with Dr. Spooner. Craig Tester gathers everybody together over in the war room to take a look at the samples that he had from that core sample that he took in the well on lot 26. And this was it right here. Now, as we mentioned, that as he took that core sample, a lot of it would actually be a lot of the vegetation and I call it muck that is down there for a while that you would sink right down into. If you put your foot down in it, you'd sink right down through it until you hit the bottom. And that's exactly what he did with this sample. So he gets down to the very bottom of it, and you see some pieces of rock or whatever and pieces of wood down there that he was actually able to use. And he got a sample of it, and then they did the dating of that sample, and it came out to be dated. Didn't I have a picture of that? I guess I don't know where that picture is, but anyway, it came out to be dated 1028 to 1172.
Which is pretty crazy. Super crazy.
And that puts you at the date very, very close to the date of the stone platform in the swamp. That was 1220, or right around there, right around the beginning of the 13th century. So, again, you go back to these old dates like that. Is what the heck does that mean? I mean, you keep getting these dates that go back so far back like that, and it's like it just confuses the whole thing. You can't nail down, okay, say that people have been there in the 1600s, the 1700s, okay, whatever, and we know that the French and English were going back and forth and that during that 1700s. But now you get another date to take something back to 1028 to 1172.
Well, they had dated. Wasn't there a piece of wood that they had dated out of the swamp from like Viking times? Like they were saying, like it was around 1,000, like 1,000 AD type thing. Like
I think that was the ship's railing.
Yeah,
that they were talking about.
So it's just there's layer on top of layer on top of layer from the who was the original? The OGs was that the Templars, like the Portuguese Templars that were the first ones there, and then it just it's pretty crazy.
It is. It truly is crazy. So you have this wide range of dates, going back to what you just said, back to 1000 AD to all the way up to modern times, but in the 1700s, especially. Thank you, Linda. The ship's rail was dated between 500 and 1000 AD.
Yes.
Now, we did say we know that piece of ship's railing that was found in the swamp, it could have been, from a shipwreck and floated and got washed into the swamp with a storm, whatever. That's possible. It is very possible.
We're finding Roman half coins, and
Yes, exactly. Why was there a Roman half coin there that we've already seen it, we've looked at it, we know that it's Roman. It's pretty clear that it's Roman anyway. I'm trying to think of the guy's name now. I've completely lost his name for a second there, but he came out and took a look at it and said it was Roman. And it sure looks like it from everybody that did a little work on their own to try to figure it out. David says 1128 to 1172 would be the end of the Viking, Anglo-Saxon, England, and the start of the Norman Age. Wow. Thank you, David. So there you go. So,
and even BB, they're saying about it'd be interesting to see if there's just two completely treasure. Like, I don't think it's unusual to think that there's, there could be 4 or 5 different things that have gone on. Could be something as simple as Anderson, the guy that owns the ship, put a couple of bags of silver in here, and maybe there was a Templar treasure that was actually put somewhere else on the island, and then later on, it's very, very cool. Very, I'd say, history rewriting kind of stuff.
exactly. Yeah. That's where I was, going. I was thinking what you were just telling. I was thinking, yeah, history rewriting itself. Well, we know, and that's the thing, folks. I mean, Sandy Campbell. Thank you, Linda. Sandy Campbell was the one. He's a numismatist that was out there looking at that that coin and said it was even the half coin. Even if the half coin is not Roman, it comes from that era. Thank you, Tom. Very good point. So Sandy, looking at it and giving that kind of a date on it. I mean, it's just crazy. But we know, and if you watched that. If you watch that, what it was the last Saturday, I had that. Was it last Saturday? The Saturday before last, I had that a show on with the Lucas Antoni, Gretchen Cornwall, and those all those authors that were talking about Gudrun the Fair. Okay, and how she had come to North America. She had a child born in North America. And she also was over. There was a good way, almost a lot of good evidence to show that she was actually in Rome and met the Pope. But so we know that the Vikings or the Norse were in North America. We know that it's been documented.
Yes.
So now they would have been the ones that would have been doing a lot of the seafaring at that time. So, did they make their way down? Did they use Nova Scotia at some point to start the ball rolling? Now, if they knew where it was and they were connected back, you start connecting them with the Europeans, and then the Europeans would get the knowledge of what's going on over here, and then passing that on to the Templars and the Scottish and the Portuguese. So they're all starting to come over here. So, I mean, they're going to pass on that knowledge. The Zeno brothers. I mean, Andrea Delabonte was on that show, and he was talking about that very thing with the Zeno brothers and those guys in passing on their knowledge to the Sinclair family. And I mean, it just and again, I go back to the whole idea behind in 1492, Christopher Columbus discovers North America. We know that there was people here way before that. That he was just the one that was given credit in the textbooks for us. He was not. They knew about it long before that, and we know that those folks have been over here. So, is it a stretch to say that they've passed that knowledge on to all these other countrymen, and then they made their way over, checking it out as well? Absolutely plausible.
It's so true, because it's not, for sure the Vikings had quite a few settlements in Newfoundland. Is it possible that someone missed Newfoundland, a storm or whatever, and they end up in Nova Scotia, like
Absolutely.
all day long? I'm sure that there was at least one or more Viking ships had made it this far, for sure.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. What do you guys think out there in the chat? Let me know what you think. I think the Viking. Okay, I see Kat says the Vikings could have had old Roman coins too. Coins of all countries were fair trade for all. Yep. And Kat said the same thing. Yeah. Or that was Kat. Let's see. Oh, the chat's running by, and I was trying to catch it there. Navy Dog says that's a big theory. They were hiding Jesus' bloodline. Yeah, I that's a sticking point with me too. I don't know. I as a Christian, that's not in the Bible, so I have a really tough time with that one. But I that whole bloodline of Christ thing, it's I don't know. It's just I find that one hard. Yeah, exactly. Navy Dog says the Vikings went farther than Newfoundland. Yeah, there was a Viking coin found in a midden pit in Maine.
Yeah.
Expand on that if you would, Catherine. When was that found? Do you remember? And where that that is. I've heard that too, but I've never read that. I mean, I heard about it, but I haven't found the actual the source for that information. But where was that information found? If you could share that with us. Yeah, in a Viking coin found. So we know they were here. We know that they were making their way along into North America at some point. So it's not a stretch to say that they would have passed on that information to everyone else at all. I don't think. I'm going to go back through the text here a little bit. If Winston says if DNA tests on local tribe people were done, it could show European ancestors. Yeah. Let's see. 100% Templars. Jeff, 100% Templars could have received the knowledge from the Vikings. Yes, I agree. Because they were all over. I mean, Scotland. And then we know that the Templars went up to Scotland and they were involved with the Sinclair family. The Sinclair family knew all about over here as well.
And a lot of the Vikings, as in the later years, started to convert to Christianity.
Yes.
So there would have been a lot of interaction with the church, and I think,
Yep, exactly right. Let's see. Yeah, Ray, I think they attached it 1,200 years ago. So yeah, you look at in so many of the things, like I said earlier, so many of the things like the stone platform in the swamp with that piece of wood dated to 1220. You take those items and you just say somebody was definitely on Oak Island and they were messing around doing something around that time frame, somewhere around 1000 AD. There's some wood dated that may go back a little further than that, but that's where I'm going to call it. I'm going to say somewhere around 1000 AD onward is when a lot of activity really started happening all up and down the Nova Scotia shoreline. And that's going to also have to include places like Newfoundland, Prince Edward Island. I mean, they're going to go through that whole area. And what do we know is just north of Nova Scotia? The entrance into the St. Lawrence Seaway, correct?
that's right.
And so did they make their way down? Alessandra Nadavari was the one who had pointed out to me that one time, talking about the different Canadian cities that you'd go along. You got Montreal, you got Detroit, you got Saginaw.
Made it into the Great Lakes and so forth.
Yes. So, I mean, you've got those cities that relate. The names are very close to names that were over in the Middle East. Montreal and Detroit, and it's just, you can't hide the fact that there's so much European and early European influence into North America back in those days. You can't ignore it. It's just, there's just too much information there. Let's see. Wow, a lot of chat's gone by here. It was found at the. Thank you. Here's Catherine. She's saying it was found at the Goddard site in Maine in 1957. The Maine penny, and she's got a link there if anyone wants to look it up. The Thorn News. One guy online, I like that name, may have missed part of the conversation, but weren't the Templars the bankers of their day? They would have had all kinds of coins from all places. Great point. Absolutely great point. Thank you. You're absolutely right. Yeah, the Templars really started the whole banking idea so that travelers would not have to, because it was their job to protect the pilgrimage of folks going to Jerusalem and coming back from Jerusalem. It was their job to protect them from bandits on the road. What's a good way to do that? Let them leave their money at one point, travel without the money along the way. They could get their little turn in their chip at the other end and get their money back on the other end. So they started that whole banking system. Would there have been a charge for such a thing? Yep. And that's where they started making money, interest on your, you're leaving in the bank. You're not accruing interest, but they're going to take a portion for their work of protecting your money for you. So that's a great point. Thank you. They created the traveler's check.
It's funny.
They did. That's exactly what it was. The traveler's check. They gave you a chit to take with you, and that's CHIT. I said chit, They created that to take with them and turn it in on the other end to get their money back. Yeah, they started financing and stuff. Yeah, they were the original bankers. You're right. BB said they needed Nicolas Cage to unravel this mystery in National Treasure 3. Yep. So, yeah, some great points, you guys. Good stuff. Yeah, this is exactly why Detroit, Toronto. That's the one I was missing. Thank you, Henry. Toronto, Detroit, and Montreal all lined up, and all of them have similar, very, very similar sounding cities over in the Middle East. Yeah, Detroit, Montreal, and Toronto, all exactly. So
Yeah.
there's so many ties. I mean, it's just unreal. You can't say that these people were not here back then. So, yeah. So we're looking forward to next week's show. It's going to be another good one. This one was. I'm looking forward to them getting back inside the money pit and seeing what's down there. And I cannot wait for Dumas Mining to get back on the scene. Right. Oh my gosh. I mean, it's just been too long that they have been, I was so excited about seeing what's going on in the garden shaft as they go down. And now if that area is down there, the blob is so close, they can tie right into it. And those in the tunnels that we know are down there, it's just so much good information. Plus lot 5, just got so much more there. The giving lot, I guess, as Gary was calling it.
They're going to go from boots on the ground to boots in the ground, underground.
Underground, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Dumas, get back.
Folks that are chatting from the Discord. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I think Kat said, when did Dumas get back? It was, I think mid-late September. So if from the show, the show jumps around from time to time, but I think we're around the early September-ish. So I suspect they're going to be back at pulling material out of the Dumas mining guys to be working there. So,
yep. Oh, that's interesting. The folks are, I mentioned earlier my Discord channel, and everybody's in there. There's the people that are part of that are all in there talking about some stuff in there right now. They're exchanging information. There was I wanted to bring up this particular. Oh, here it is. Here, let's see if I can expand this. There we go. I'm going to show this real quick, folks. This is some symbology. This was Morningstar shared this with us, and there's that, these symbols right here that may be very close to what they were looking at. This is the stuff that goes on in the Discord channel, folks. You can chat in there in just a regular texting, typing chat and back and forth. And then we also have our voice channel that's right there that you can come in and join us and the watch party that we do on Tuesday nights. But I try to pay attention to this best I can when I'm working and stuff. But you see all the different stuff. We get in some great conversations in there. And again, like I said, the Discord channel information is down below. You click on that and you go in, and you got to go through a little, answer some questions and stuff like that. But it's really cool. Is that Versailles? I think that's Versailles, is it not? And they were saying that was the, somebody was showing us as the goose foot. Came across that. Oh, that's Jenny's getting inky with it. Thanks. Anyway, we have a lot of fun in there. So anyways, I just wanted to show that real quick. We do have a lot of fun in the Discord channel. And there's also there's rooms in there for Beyond Our World and also for Skinwalker Ranch, when we will be watching that show. Anyway, tomorrow night, folks, I'm having another Insider's Insights, Skinwalker Ranch type stuff. The insiders are the Skinwalker Ranch started a streaming where we are as insiders. It is a paid membership. It doesn't cost that much. It's like $90 a year or something like that, or you can pay monthly. But you become an insider and you get to watch the live streams of what's going on in Skinwalker Ranch 24/7. There's a whole bunch of them now. They've got picture in a picture, and there's 4 of them, and we get to watch all kinds of stuff. Eric Bard is in there all the time talking with us. I had a great conversation with him again the other day. We were going on and on for an hour. I caught a UFO. I did. I saw it. I caught it. I logged it. This was back in August. I logged it. and I told people about it, but nobody really said anything. So I thought, oh, nobody thought it was as great as I did. So I was kind of, I was kind of disappointed. Well, it came back up 2 days ago in conversation. And so everybody was going and looking at it. And then it blew up. Everybody's like, oh my gosh, look at this UFO you caught. And it was, I mean, this thing is zipped by, and then we analyzed it. We slowed it down. We took close-ups of it. Eric Bard got involved, and he was asking me, and he's one of these guys that'll ask you pointed questions. He goes, well, tell me a little bit about your analysis of how you went through this and you came up with why you think it's a UFO. And I'm like, well, he put me on the spot, did he not? And I'm like, okay, so let me start explaining all of this. And I did. And he was like, he loved my analysis, of how I went through it. It's not a bird, and how did I determine all that stuff. Anyway, I know I'm carrying on. This is Oak Island stuff here, but it's just great, and to be an insider. But you can see the link down below for that too, if you'd like to check out being an insider at Skinwalker Ranch. It certainly is a lot of fun. Folks, thank you so much for being here with us tonight. And I wanted to
That's
take
a fancy
drink out
cup
of
you got there, Jeff.
my new tumblers. Look at that. Jess Grollo, and she's in the chat there tonight. Jess Grollo has helped me out. She helped me out with my new logo that you see at the beginning of the show. And she does these at it's blue6laser.com. Lasers with a Z, blue6laser.com. She has a engraving thing. She sells these tumblers. She sells all kinds of different. Yeah, I made that. She did. And I have a bunch of them. If you'd like, I'm going to be giving away some of the ones that I have. But if you'd like to get one of these, and again, I felt so weird about this because of, I'm thinking, why would somebody want to buy something with my logo? But anyway, they are available. They're $25 plus shipping. We might have to add a little for shipping, but if you get a hold of Jess at blue6laser.com, and I think we should link that. I'll start putting that in the description of the show. She will send it to you. She will send it. She'll ship it to you. You can have one of those. If you really want, yeah, there you go. Thank you, Linda. Linda just put it up there, blue6laser.com. You let her know that you want one, and she will send you one of these cool tumblers. The different colors. She has different colors. I like the black ones personally. She's got some that are navy blue, red. She's got a bunch of different colors out there. Yes, there will be hats coming, William. There will be hats coming as well, and some polo shirts. I'm still working that one on that stuff right now. But and folks, the whole reason behind that, it's because the same way with the same reason that I do with the Patreon to help finance all this stuff, to help pay for this stuff. I'm not trying to make a bunch of money on this. It just helps to pay for this kind of stuff that I'm doing here, and to help us continue going and expanding the show and paying all my employees, Colin. Yeah,
very expensive.
And Linda, Linda and Jan, Tom, Colin, Henry, all, Jeff Babineau, everybody that helps out with the show. I mean, I love you guys so very much. And hope, we'll try to get you one of these limited edition. But anyway, if you want one of those, blue6laser.com, they're $25. We have to add a little shipping on it. But if you'd like to have one of the logoed cups or tumblers, there you go. You get a hold of her, and she will ship it out to you, and we go from there. And she has all kinds of stuff there. Check out blue6laser.com. She's got tons of stuff. She does the engraving for Rick on all the stuff that he has, and she knows what she's doing. She's very good. Well, thank you for saying that. I appreciate that. But anyway, Colin, thank you so much, sir, for co-hosting tonight. I really do appreciate it. You always add such great content. Linda, thank you for working in there, and Jan, and everybody that has been here with us tonight for applying your great comments in the chat. I love you guys. Thank you so much for being here. And tomorrow night, we got Insiders Insights. Friday night, I got to tell you before everybody leaves, Friday night, we have Beyond Oak Island. We're going to be revisiting the Widda. I had to cancel last week. I wasn't feeling well, so I canceled last week. We're going to do it this Friday. Tony Sampson will be here, and I'm still waiting to hear back from Barry and Brandon Clifford. who are the guys out there diving on the Witta. So Tony Sampson, Tony already confirmed. Then we got Barry and Brandon Clifford from the Witta are going to be here Friday night, 7:30. Tomorrow night's Insiders Insights at 7:30. And then we're going to be talking about, Jess Grollo and her husband Mike will be on the show. We're going to get them back on because they're going to be back at Poverty Island, and they talked about it last night on the best of kind of thing they were doing last night in the war room. So Jess, and we're gonna keep that going a little bit, but I got to get some other shows in. We're going to be doing Expedition Bigfoot and all kinds of stuff coming up here in the future. So that's what we got for the next couple nights. Insiders Insights tomorrow, Beyond Oak Island with Tony Sampson and Barry and Brandon Clifford on Friday night, 7:30. So we hope you guys will join us for that. It's going to be a fun time. And, and Jess is actually super funny. She, in person, I got to meet her in Escanaba, Michigan. She truly,
That's awesome.
and you see Mike over there going, oh, there she goes again.
It's awesome.
Oh, they are an awesome team. So thank you guys very much. And thank you. So we'll catch you later right here on the Curse of Oak Island and Beyond live stream, J Free 906. Good night, everybody. Have a good one.